Selah.
An intentional pause for reflection and connection.
Selah.
Content-rich dialogue and discussions.
Selah.
Pray and worship together.
Selah.
Living the way.
Selah.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us for Selah. Selah is a great time to take a break from the normal routine of worship and life and to intentionally make time to relax and talk and pray for one another. It's a time to grow in community. Well, this is Black History Month, and this is a time for all of us to reflect on the resilience of Black people here in this country and throughout the diaspora. This is a month to celebrate not just the achievements of Black people, but also the favor of God that shows up in the lives of our people everywhere, every day. I hope you will reflect and learn and celebrate during this month of Black history, no matter who you are or where you are. Now, we have something special today as we invite our newest member of our pastoral staff, Dr. Jaime Kowlessar, to give us our Selah teaching for today. Church, we're excited to have him join our team. And as we know that he has great passion and experience in teaching and working for the cause of justice. But before he comes, let's begin with a few questions to get today's conversation started. Number one, have you ever experienced the pressure of being forced to be something you are not? And then secondly, how did it make you feel to be pressured to assimilate or go along to get along? Take just a few moments, discuss with your group, and then we'll be back to have Dr. Jaime Kowlessar.
Galatians chapter 5 verse 1 says, "Stand fast therefore in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage." Look, life has a way of taking everything good and turning it around for the worse. Live long enough and sooner or later you're going to have some good days and some bad days. As long as I can stay Black, I'll never forget this. Last Christmas, I brought my daughters a board game, and I played a few games with them, and after a while, I left them to go do something else. A few minutes after I left, I heard my youngest daughter, Amber, crying. She comes in the room and I say, "Baby, what's wrong?" With tears in her eyes, she says, "Daddy, whenever I'm about to win the game, Caitlin always changes the rules." Isn't that an apropos description of the America that we're living in right now? That every time you turn on the TV, some rule is being changed? Maybe you woke up and saw the premiums of your health insurance skyrocket. Or perhaps you got an email saying that you have to start paying back your student loans or they're going to garnish your wages. Or perhaps you saw that they decided to change the rules on who gets to be American. Sadly and shamefully, just when you think you've learned how to play the game, someone is always changing the rules. It seems like the more things change, the more they stay the same. Living in Trump's America has been quite a roller coaster. And this administration has systemically dismantled diversity, equity, and inclusion programs across the federal government, blocked funding from schools with curriculum that teaches racism, privilege, or implicit bias, weaponized ICE to target people of color, and gerrymandering tactics to make it harder to vote. You see, at least during slavery, you could see the change. Not the rules have changed and the chains are invisible, but they have visible effects. These chains come in the form of over-policing and policies. Amazingly, you have to be more afraid of the people in suits than the ones in hoodies. The real gangsters that pose a threat to Americans wear the three-piece suits and roam the hallways of the Capitol. It's safe to say that there are some people that would rather see you in bondage than walking in freedom. It seems like America has always had a tension in deciding who should be free and who shouldn't, or who matters from who doesn't matter. And the only way to matter is that you have to become like the dominant culture that is writing the rules. And this brings me to our Selah teaching this month. Paul tells the people in Galatia, "Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Christ had made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage." The central issue in this verse is that Galatian churches were being influenced by Judaizers, likely Jewish Christians, who taught that Gentile converts must be circumcised and follow the Mosaic law to be fully part of God's people. Paul sees this as a fundamental misunderstanding of the gospel. My first point, who the Son sets free is free indeed. Paul's argument contains a powerful irony. The Galatians, who were Gentiles and thus never under the Mosaic covenant, would be putting themselves under bondage for the first time by adopting circumcision. That word again refers not to their personal history, but to a return to the slavery principle from which Christ freed all humanity. What they are really saying is that you have to give up your ethnic identity and become like one of us in order to be saved. You probably missed that. They were in a real sense telling them that they have to change who you are essentially to stop being Gentiles and become Jews in order to be close to Jesus. Notice, they want the Gentiles to become like them and not like Christ. Because whenever you want to control a group of people, you change their name, and by changing their name, you define who they are. Then they erase your culture and change your language. And then they start dividing you and change your diet. They were trying to colonize them because colonialism creates an atmosphere of living death which fosters a systemic breakdown of the human personality. People who are colonized are conquered. And today's yokes of bondage are the ongoing systems that attempt to re-enslave Black Americans through mass incarceration, economic exploitation, and educational inequity. When enslaved Africans heard this text, they received it as a divine rejection of their bondage. Christ's freedom was not just spiritual escapism, but a declaration that their enslavements violates God's purposes and means of salvation. To stand firm becomes a call to resist any ideology or policy that attempts to return Black people or any human to conditions of second-class citizenship. Point number 2, freedom requires active resistance. Standing fast or standing firm is an imperative. In other words, it's not a suggestion. It is not a matter of choice. It is a call to be an upstander and not a bystander. Freedom is not passive, but requires vigilant, active defense. Throughout history, every generation has had to stand firm against the new iterations of oppression. For people kissed by the sun's rays, we have to have a history of standing firm to fight against new iterations of depression. If it wasn't slavery, then it was Reconstruction. If it wasn't Reconstruction, then it was sharecroppers. If it wasn't sharecroppers, then it was Jim Crow terrorism. And Jim Crow had children. Now we got John, Janice, James, and Jamal. Yes, Jamal, because sometimes it will be people that look like you that will try to oppress you. For example, bamboo looks like individual stalks, but underground it's all connected by a single root system called a rhizome. You can cut 1 stalk, 10 stalks, 100 stalks, but as long as the root system remains, new shoots keep emerging. Black resistant movements work the same way. They tried to cut down the civil rights movement, but the Black Power movement emerged. They criminalized Black Power, but hip hop arose. They tried to suppress Black Lives Matter, but the new movements keep sprouting. Why? Because the root system, the demand for freedom, the knowledge of our worth, the memories of our ancestors remain intact, connected beneath the surface. This isn't about Black people making an excuse or complaining. It's just calling out the realities, because freedom is not a one-time gift, but an ongoing practice of resistance against those who would want to entangle us in the yokes of bondage again. Point number 3, freedom is found in identity, not performance. Paul argues against circumcision because the Galatians were trying to earn their place through performance. True freedom comes from identity in Christ, not proving worthiness through works. From the moment we were packaged like sardines on boats and brought to the shores of Jamestown, Virginia in 1619, Black people have had to live with twice as good mentality that requires us to constantly prove our humanity, worthiness, and capabilities. When Black Adventist leaders were excluded from leadership positions, we were told to go get our own conferences. The common trait of thought was that Blacks weren't fit for leadership. So we started our own conferences, and when we did that, we named our churches Ephesus, named them after the first church in Revelation as a testament that the last shall be first. You see, Black resistant movements have consistently declared Black humanity and worth on their own terms, rejecting the premise that white society determines Black value. For the Black is Beautiful movement of the 1960s that celebrated natural hair and African aesthetics, to Black Power's insistence on economic and political self-determination, to hip-hop's creation of entirely new cultural forms, to contemporary movements like Black Lives Matter that refuse to debate whether Black lives have value. Each generation practiced revolutionary form of freedom. And these movements didn't wait for white approval to affirm Black dignity. Instead, they declared Black excellence, Black joy, Black creativity, and Black humanity as inherent truths, not achievements earned through respectability, politics, or exceptional performance. This represents both a theological and philosophical revolution. If we are created in God's image and made free by Christ, then our Blackness is a part of that divine image, and our freedom is established by divine decree, not by white validation. And this connects powerfully to Galatians 5:1. Just as Paul told the Galatians, don't go back under bondage by trying to prove your worth through circumcision, Black resistant movements say don't go back under bondage by trying to prove your humanity through white approval. The freedom Christ gives liberates us from having to perform for our oppressors, empowers us to define ourselves on our own terms, and allow us to create beauty, culture, and meaning independent of white gatekeeping. Whether it's scholars bringing their Black selves into academic spaces, Black Twitter defining culture without mainstream media validation, or churches like ours centering social justice in our witness, we are living out Galatians 5:1 imperative. We stand firm in freedom, refuse re-enslavement to systems that demand we prove our worth, and live boldly into our God-given identity. Freedom isn't just the absence of chains, it's the presence of self-determined life rooted in divine affirmation.
Thank you, Pastor Kowlessar, for that wonderful teaching moment. Now within your Selah group, we invite you to discuss with one another the teaching that was presented. Within your group, discuss the following questions. 1. What point from the teaching stood out to you the most, and why? 2. The story of the board game shows how frustrating it is when the rules shift just as you're about to win. Where have you experienced rule changes in your own life or in society that made life feel unfair or unwinnable? 3. Paul warns the Galatians not to accept a version of faith that requires them to give up who they are in order to belong. Where do you see pressure today, either inside or outside the church, to change your identity, culture, or voice in order to be accepted or taken seriously? 4. The teaching explains that freedom requires active resistance, not passive belief. What does standing firm look like in practical, everyday ways for us right now, at work, in school, in our neighborhoods, or in our church? Pause the video now, and if you choose, you may take a few minutes to journal your answers first and then share with your group. We hope that as you discuss the teaching today, you are able to discover something new. Now we challenge you to take another step forward with these challenges. 1. Identify one system, belief, or habit that has tried to re-enslave you. Fear, people-pleasing, overperforming, silence, respectability, politics, shame, debt, comparison? Write it down. Pray over it. Name it out loud. Repeat this aloud. Who the Son sets free is free indeed, and I refuse to carry what Christ has already broken. 2. Advocate, vote, show up, mentor, or challenge an unjust policy or narrative. Pause the video and take some time to discuss and pray over these challenges. Selah is supported by your generous contributions. Right now, there's a QR code on the screen. When you grab your phone and open the link with your camera app, it will take you to a few ways you can give tithe and offering. We are so thankful for your consistent giving that is making a difference all over the world and right where you are. Thank you for being a part of Selah this month. We look forward to seeing you again in March.